A week ago on Thanksgiving, I fell asleep and slept on my shoulder wrong, and apparently being in your 30s is the age of when you sleep wrong and hurt a part of your body. It just ruins your entire week because it's been a week since Thanksgiving and my shoulder still hurts. Should I work on a sewing project right now for a cosplay? Probably not, but
I'm still gonna.
Hi everybody! Today I'm going to be going over and reviewing how I made a Eva cosplay from Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater. I would say about 7 years ago is when I became a big Metal Gear Kojima fan. I first heard about him with the whole Konami firing Kojima because Metal Gear 5 was taking too long, because I didn't like that an artist was being disrespected so much. And I know it's crazy that I only learned about him 7 years ago. However, there's a big reason why it became such a big part of my life. And that's because it is my partner's favorite video game series. I have watched him play all 5 games and probably the 3rd game the most because it is his favorite game. And I am currently playing through the Switch version of the ports of the 3 first games, and then when the 3rd game comes out, I'm definitely gonna replay the remake of the 3rd game. So with that said, there is one thing that Kojima is known for in the Metal Gear universe lore, and that is how he designs his female characters. And while they are very strong female characters, they still all have a very common stylistic choice.
Boobs.
So I decided to pick the character that shows the least amount of skin, but a good amount of cleavage, if that makes sense. I decided to make a cosplay of Eva. I am going to Anime Los Angeles this year and they are going to have a Metal Gear meetup. So I decided out of all the female characters I wanted to do, I was going to do Eva. My favorite female character is the boss, but the boss might be a little too complicated of a cosplay to make right now, because especially if I wanted to make her, I would want to do scar makeup of her scar, and that's just a little too scary at the moment for me. And I decided to go with Eva for a couple of reasons. One, I already made a jumpsuit in my most recent video for April O'Neil, so I already have a pattern for it. It zips down far enough for the opening for Eva. And then 2, my April O'Neil cosplay was inspired by Eva's design, and I do love Eva as a character. She was meant to be like satire commentary on a Bond girl. So enough about Metal Gear, let's get into how I'm going to be making this cosplay. So this video is going to be different from my last one, and is probably going to go back more into the roots of how I used to make videos, is that I'm going to go over the entire process of me making it instead of me just sitting here and talking about it while you watch quick clips of videos. So I'm actually going to this time try to record as much as I can. So with that said, let's get into materials that I'm gonna use for this cosplay. Oh, where'd it go? Where'd it go? Where'd it go? Where'd it go? I just had it. Oh. I put it with everything. That makes sense. So, material. The pattern I'm gonna use is just the same pattern from my last video in my April O'Neil cosplay, but this time I'm gonna go over the actual process, every step of making it, but it's just McCall's 7908 pattern. And if you remember, this pattern from my last video isn't the best for if you have rounder hips. So I'm gonna go over my process of how I make it bigger. So one thing that surprised a lot of people and my partner about the fact that I chose Eva is the fact that I actually really hate the color tan, and her outfit is tan. So I decided to pick a tan that I liked the most. So I went with this apricot tan, but I decided to go with this tan apricot. It is 100% cotton, so it is breathable. The nice thing I loved about the April O'Neil cosplay is it was probably the most comfortable cosplay I have ever wore, and I was not sweating like crazy walking around the con. So I'm hoping to achieve the same thing with this cosplay. But this is gonna be the main fabric for the cosplay. I also got some, oh God, what is this stuff called? My brain is dying because it's only running on 3%. Interfacing. Jesus. I bought interfacing for the collar, so the collar can be a little stiffer. And then the other thing is Eva's sleeves are a little bit longer than April O'Neil's sleeves. This pattern, the longest sleeves on this side, the April O'Neil cosplay only went up to here, and Eva's sleeves go up to here, where my Lady D tattoo is. So I'm gonna be Frankensteining another pattern to it and using these sleeves from Butterick B6852 for this t-shirt. This is also the pattern I used to make my t-shirt for my Mitsuri cosplay, so I'm familiar with it and I used it before. So just this jumpsuit and Frankenstein these sleeves on to make the Eva cosplay. All right, let's get into the making of this cosplay. Oh yeah, something about this pattern that I forgot to mention in my last video and just kind of forgot about in general is that one thing that is nice about this pattern is the bodice side does come in different cups that you can do it based around what side you are in your chest. The only thing is, you know, I'm not a single D. However, it doesn't matter because it'll be zipped open for the cosplay, but that is one nice thing about this pattern, that it provides different cup sizes for you. Okay, well that hurt my back. All I have left to do as far as cutting out the pieces is just cutting out the interfacing for these for the collar and for the front band. And then the last thing I'll have to cut out is the bias tape, since I couldn't find a bias tape that matches this tan. So I'm just gonna have to make my own bias tape for that. But after this, I can finally move on to my favorite phase, which is the sewing phase. Me just interrupting in the middle of this video real quick, and that's because I didn't want to have the other props that just came in today so early in the video, because even though my YouTube videos don't get that many views, I still want them to get some views as much as they can without YouTube getting angry at me. I did already order 2 props, and that is her motorcycle goggles. These are gonna go around the neck like so. One more thing coming in for the cosplay, which is her holster for the gun. It was actually really hard to find a holster for a machine gun Uzi because they don't make those guns anymore. So finding a holster for it was really hard. And I wanted to make my own cosplay. I didn't want to order an entire Eva cosplay just for the holster. However, I might be pushing it with that because it says it's not going to be delivered until literally the day before I have to leave for the con. So keep your fingers crossed for that I get that in time. But if I don't, I'll just have the brown belt, so that will be enough, I guess. The other prop I recently bought was her gun. This is not an exact replica of her gun. This is the closest I could get to the gun.
It's a Chinese Type 17 pistol.
I ordered it off of Etsy. Here's the shop, and I'll have it down below. The only thing that I'm worried about is so the orange thing doesn't come out, but I wish it was a little bit more obvious, because anyone who's been to a con knows that they're really strict when it comes to realistic guns. And I will say this is a pretty realistic gun. The person who made it did a really good job of making it. The trigger pulls back, the hammer pulls back, and you can take out the magazine. So I'm really worried about this gun being a little too realistic and this orange tip not being too obvious. I might have to put some orange tape on here to make this orange tip a little bit more obvious. I did read the rules. The rules said as long as the orange tip can't be removed and it's obvious when it's still sheathed, it should be fine. So I might also just go in without the clip in and just go in like this, so I don't get in trouble at the con. So that's my only gripe with this. I just wish this orange tip was a little bit more obvious, but I do think it's a good choice for the closest I can get. The only thing it's really missing is the Chinese engraving from Eva's gun, but this is the other prop I have. Like I said, hopefully the holster will be coming in on time. We'll see, because it is coming from South Africa. All right, so I got 3 packages from Amazon. So look at these cute little Plague Doctor plushies I got from Los Angeles Comic-Con. They're so cute. Okay, so let's do a quick unboxing. All right, let's see what's in this one. Oh, these are gloves, like just simple black gloves that I'm using for my Eva cosplay and also for my Lady D cosplay. The original gloves I had for my Lady D cosplay, I glued Freddy Krueger claws onto. The Freddy Krueger claws were just a temporary fix, and one of these packages has the actual claws I'm going to use for cons from now on. But this is going to be for both my Lady D and Eva cosplay. Alright, let's see what this one has. Okay, this one is the fix to the claws. I believe this is the belt. Yes, this is the belt I'm going to use to put on her holster and the little bag in the back. It's an actual gun belt. I think that's what a lot of cosplayers do. We just resort to getting actual like gun belts and gun holsters for our fake weapons because it's just the easiest thing to do rather than just making one. 3 different layers. They said this was a size large, but I'm worried this actually isn't a large size. Also comes with 0 directions. That's fun. Welcome to the chaos of my sewing / makeup area. Okay, so the good news is my holster will come on time. The bad news is it came this morning via our friendly U.S. Postal Service, and I was working at my desk with my bunny ear headphones on, which you saw in a couple of my videos. And the thing about those Razer bunny ear headphones is they really cancel out the noise around you, especially if you're like me and is someone who loves metal music. And I didn't also realize that for that holster, I was going to need to sign something to get it hand over. I don't know if it's because it came from South Africa, because it's a gun holster, and I didn't feel like chasing the mail person down because their jobs are hard enough because they have to, you know, walk around and deal with people who are upset that their mail didn't get delivered, especially around Christmas time. They gave me a note so that I can go pick up the holster tomorrow, so I shall go pick up that holster from the post office tomorrow. Got it. Don't go to a post office in December. Oh my God. This package came all the way across the ocean to get to me. So, okay, here it is. The gun holster I'm going to use for Eva. Oh, these do come off. Nice. I won't have to rip them off. Oh, and look, there's even a nice pocket in the back for my belt. I was worried that there wasn't going to be a pocket in the back for that, and I would have to make one to try and attach it to leather. So, let's see if it fits my fake gun in it. Ow, really hard to open though. Okay. So, here's my prop gun. Nope, not gonna fit. So it looks like in order to fit, I'm gonna have to take the clip out. Okay, so fits just fine with the clip out. So that's gonna get hung about right here for the cosplay. Also yesterday when I finished cutting out everything. Now it's time to sew. I realized that forgot to cut out the sleeves because I'm using a separate pattern than that jumpsuit pattern. So I need to cut out the sleeves from this pattern. And then aside from the bias tape, that's the last thing I need to cut out, and then I can finally move on to sewing. Also, never understood why this pattern was so big for just a tiny shirt. By pattern, I mean the instructions. But that's Butterick for you, always giving good instructions on how to make things. I have seemed to have lost the first page of this. Okay. Oh wait, what's this? There's more. Okay, I didn't lose the first page. Sleeve. Oh, that's right. This has a 2-part sleeve. That's okay. You are 9 and 10. Sleeve. Sleeve, where are you? Sleeve? Yes. Then one more part. Sleeve? No. Where is it? 6. Oh my God. Where is it? I had to have it. I made Mitsuri's out like shirt with it. 10. Okay, found it. It was underneath the pattern pieces. Let's get to cutting this bad boy. Okay, so in order to make the bias tape for this cosplay, I've put the collar on according to the pattern dots of where the collar should be placed. And what I'm gonna do is I'm going to use this measuring tape to measure around what the length is between this point and this point here. Okay, so it's about at 29 inches. So I'm gonna cut it out to 32 so I have extra to flip at the end. So let me just do that real quick to double check my measurements. So I've attached the bias tape I made to the collar. So the way bias tape works is I'm going to attach it to the right side, which is the side that the seams aren't showing, and then fold it over and then sew it to the inside of it. And you'll see a better example when it's actually all sewn together. I don't know why this just popped in my head, but looking at this color, it definitely reminds me of the shirts Dwight wore in The Office.
Identity theft is not a joke, Jim.
Anyways. Okay, so the collar is sewn on. As you can see, I flipped the bias tape over and sewed it to the other side so that we do not see this raw edge that is right here. Now it's time to sew on the sleeves, and like I said, I'll be doing different sleeves from a different pattern rather than the sleeves that were provided for this pattern, and just pray that they attach together well. But for this pattern are kind of different than a usual sleeve pattern. Not to say that, you know, not all shirts do this, some shirts do this, but basically the way this sleeve works as instead of being one large piece, there's a seam that runs on the side, and then of course this seam that connects it. So basically there's an extra space where under the armpit goes. So for these sleeves, they need to be pinned together and sewn like this, gathered, and then sewn together on the sleeve. I'm not really sure why this pattern chose to do it this way. It's interesting. It's an interesting design choice, but these are the long sleeves I have for a pattern. We're gonna hope and pray that these sleeves match up with the armholes, so let's hope this all works out. Okay, so aside from the zipper, the top is done for the Eva cosplay. I think this is where I'm gonna stop for today. Sun is going down, my back hurts, and pants are difficult to make, so we'll start that fresh tomorrow with the pants. But so far, turning out pretty good. Okay, so yesterday when I was making the pants part of the jumpsuit and trying to tailor the pants to fit me, it didn't work out in the end because
I ripped my pants.
So it was also a rip that was unfixable. Like, even if I sewed it together, it would look literally like Sally from Nightmare Before Christmas with exposed stitches. And even though I like that and it's part of my aesthetic, it doesn't work out for this cosplay. So last night, late at night, I had to go to Joann's and get more of the tan fabric. And instead of just trying to tailor the pants that fit to me, because tailoring is a whole separate skill set. What I'm gonna do for my pants is just what I did for my April O'Neil cosplay, so it fits my curves better. So what I did for my April O'Neil cosplay is I just added an extra bit of fabric on the sides of each pant leg going up to the waist. So that's what I'm gonna do for my Metal Gear cosplay. Now, if you're wondering why I don't just go out and buy a new pattern, one, I'm trying to save money, and I'll get into that in a second. And two, the top part fits me just fine. It's just the part with my big hips that get in the way. With that said, before I get into cutting out the pant legs for the Eva cosplay, I just wanted to get a little quick break from crafting. And the other day, my friend, who's also an actor, asked me how much my cosplays make. And that made me realize I thought this cosplay was going to be a cheap cosplay because Eva is just a jumpsuit. However, one thing we always forget but love about Kojima is he loves to over-design his characters, which is not a bad thing. I personally love that about Kojima's style. And I chose Eva because she's not as over-designed. It's just a simple jumpsuit. However, what I didn't take into account was all the props she has. So it wasn't necessarily the fabric for the jumpsuit that costs a lot, but it was the props that are mostly on her belt that were the most expensive. So I did end up going over budget. So for this cosplay, I went to 3 different stores, 2 which are online. I went to Joann's, Amazon, and Etsy. So for Joann's, the fabric cost $21.70. And the thread cost $1.64 because I need to make sure to get thread that matched the fabric. And then the zipper cost $3.99. However, I had to go back last night and get 2 more yards of fabric to be safe. The extra 2 yards cost $8.68, so the total from Joann's is $36.01. What I got from Amazon was most of her accessories. I got the gun belt for $29.65, the pouch for $18.50, the gloves for $7.99, and the goggles for $15.99. So the total from Amazon was $72.13. So what cost the most was what I got from the Etsy store, which is fine. And as I'm talking about them, I'll make sure. Hi, Bubba. Oh, really? Hi. Say hi. I love you. Mwah. Okay, so from Etsy, I'll make sure to include the names of the shops on the screen and in the description below. In fact, I'll be making sure to include all these items in the description below of where I got them. The prop gun I got for $54.79. And then the holster was $54.72.
This is Editing Cheska. Please don't ask me why I'm pronouncing holster that way, because I have no idea why.
The total cost from Etsy was $109.51. So basically more than half of the cost of this cosplay went towards the prop gun and the holster. Can't talk. For the prop gun. The overall total for this cosplay was $217.65. But because of taxes and some of these I forgot to look at what the taxes price was, or I bought it with other things, I couldn't get the exact tax price. I'm gonna round it up and say the total cost for this cosplay was $220.
Editing Cheska here, and there's just a couple things I forgot to mention in this segment of the video. And one of the major things was that I forgot to include the pricing of the fabric interfacing in the Joanne section, and that was $8.53 for 2 yards, which actually brings my total for this cosplay to $26.18. So I think I'll just round that up to $2.30 to say that the total cost of this cosplay was actually $230. Also, there are some things that I'm not factoring in, like the 2 patterns I use, since I bought those for other cosplays and not this cosplay in particular, so I don't think those need to be added in. I already own a blonde wig for my Sarah cosplay that I made 2 years ago. Alright, let's get back to the rest of the video.
Hopefully, I don't rip these pants. I'm gonna make sure to put the safety band on before I sew the zipper on. Oh my god, did I even do that to this? It looks like I forgot this step with this. That's so funny. Huh. So it looks like with this one, I forgot the step of putting on band for the front, and that it ripped because I pulled too hard, and because there wasn't a protection on the side for the fabric, it just ripped. So I'm gonna get back to this. I'm gonna make pants. I just have to say, I hate making pants. It's so overly complicated because if you do one single thing wrong, like I did yesterday, they will either not look good or they will rip. Hopefully everything works out this time and I don't need to spend any more money on this cosplay. There technically wasn't enough fabric for, this is the back, for the back pant. As you can see here, I got a little cut off. However, what I think I'm gonna do to make up for that is she has a cuff on the bottom of her pants that's flipped up. So I think what I'm gonna do is just first, after everything's sewn together, cut the length so it matches with this. And then on the bottom of both pants, reverse stitch a cuff and attach it so it just looks like, hey, I totally did that on purpose, not because I ran out of fabric and I'm just, you know, very frustrated and slowly dying inside. Also, I got my extra sharp scissors that are super satisfying with that click and that nice cut because I'm just so frustrated that I have to remake these pants and I just need something to help me get through it. Okay, so now the 2 pattern pieces are cut out. Oh, so the little snippet right there, connected literally by 4 strands. Okay, so both the front and back is cut out. So one important thing when it comes to making pants is you need to make sure to mark what is the front and what is the back. And it's that way so you don't accidentally sew together 2 front pieces and 2 back pieces. And I know that sounds weird, but that's because the process of making pants is first sewing together the inner seams of the pants, like the inner leg, the front and back, and then attaching it through the crotch and then attaching it on the side. So this is the front, so I'm gonna put an F for front on both sides. And then this is the back, so I'm gonna put a B on both sides so I don't mix them up. So first thing is first is I need to make the darts for each pant leg because both the front and back require a dart. Now it says, stitch pants front and back together inner leg. So like I said in my last video, the issue with this pattern is that the example they gave it is for if you're making short jumpsuits, but I'm making a long jumpsuit with pant legs. And so it's kind of hard for like, you know, my dyslexic brain to be like, oh, what's this compared to the long pant leg? But what really helps me is realizing this is where the crotch seam is. So I need to make sure to grab one front and one back and sew together at the inner thigh. That just personally helps my brain. So here is a front. This is the other front, so I'm gonna put it off to the side. And then I just need to match up what back goes with it. And you also match it up by putting right side to right side. This is the one that matches up with it. Here's the front, here's the back, and it'll match it up right side to right side. It's like there's an extra little piece right there. Let me just clip that off real quick. Okay. One mistake I've made in the past is accidentally cutting this extra flap off right here that doesn't line up, thinking, oh, I cut it wrong. But in actuality, I was wrong, because this is the back where some women might have a bigger arch in the back compared to others. So you need to make sure you're matching up the patterns this way with corner of the inner thigh to the end, except, you know, if you had enough fabric, you actually made it long enough. But I'm not going to cut off this part off until everything's sewed together and I can cut it off more accurately. Then we pin this together and we sew this inner seam, making sure to sew it on together on the wrong side. Next step, stitch crotch seam. That's literally what it's called, YouTube. Don't get mad at me. Ending opposite small circle. Stitch again 6 millimeters away with the allowance along curve as shown. Trim close to the second stitching. So what that means is, so we're gonna pull these pant seams out and apart of the two that are sewn together and lay it down. And then take the other one and lay it on top, right side to right side. As you can see here, it's like a tiny little flap thing right here. That's to indicate that that's where the zipper goes. So the stitch shouldn't go any farther than that, so we can still sew in the zipper later on. So we pin together the crotch seam, and now we sew along this crotch, and then you do a second stitch to help reinforce the crotch at the curve. I reinforced the stitch. I didn't film myself doing it because curves I just need to have extra concentration on. It says to trim close to the stitching to also just help give it that extra space in the nether region. Okay, next step is to sew the side pants together. Lay down the wrong side so that the good side is facing up, and then bring the back to the front. And usually you would sew along this side. However, because I'm adding the extra space, I need to first cut that out and then sew both sides to the side of the seams. So I'm going to put these off to the side and make the side seams. I pinned the extra fabric to the side of each leg to make the pants, but also I took a break after to get some work done with my job, and this morning I woke up with a kind of sore throat, and I thought, I was like, oh, I'm just thirsty like I am every morning, but then it wouldn't go away until I drank literally a Trento worth of tea from Starbucks. And then while I was working, my nose started running and the back of my throat tickles. So now I think I'm actually getting sick, which is great. And I blame the curse of the pants because it's their fault. It's not because of germs and my jobs require me to be around multiple people at a time. That's totally not the reason. Anyways, I'm gonna sew this off camera because I suddenly don't feel good. So I'll see you when I have finally put together pants. And the pants are done. And I just tried them on and they fit. So next is attaching the pants to the top. Also, I'm gonna stitch along these sides so I have some reinforcement. Even though I'm putting a band there, I'm really worried it's gonna rip right here at the crotch again like it did with my last pants in this direction. So I'm going to put a stay stitch here and then put the reinforce on top. That way it's really reinforced that it won't rip again. So let's attach these pants to the top. Okay, it's on, everything's fitting, but it's time for the big test. It's time for the sit test. Everything's reinforced on the side. All right, here we go.
I rip my pants.
Oh, it's not tight. Oh, hallelujah, thank God. Oh my God. Also looking at this on screen, if I ever wanted to, I could repurpose this to be a Ghostbusters uniform if I wanted to, because it's the same exact color, because it also kind of looks like a janitor's uniform. But oh, I'm so happy it fits. Oh my God. Okay, I still don't feel too great, but I decided I just wanted to finish this project, at least get the final touches done on the jumpsuit. I also found out that the reason why I didn't sew on a front band was because this is from a completely different pattern that got mixed up in this pattern, and that should have been obvious by this saying Butterick and this being a McCall's pattern. But I decided, just, you know, because I purely hate sewing on zippers, that I'm just gonna use this band anyways to make the process of sewing on the zipper a little bit easier. So I'm still gonna use this band to sew onto the edges of the jumpsuit. And it's also because if we look at this pattern right here, this one right here, it says turn seam allowance on front opening edges of jumpsuit shown, press. And it's like such a small space on the seam allowance for the jumpsuit that I decided it would just be easier to add extra fabric there and then sew the zipper on, because I just hate sewing zippers. It's one of the worst things in existence, right next to sewing pants. I'm just kidding. I'm just still traumatized from sewing those pants on. All right, let's finish the last details of this jumpsuit. The front bands are sewn on and I just pinned the zipper to it. And then the last final step will be, you know, evening out the hem and then making the cuffs for the bottom. So let's put those last two details on there. Okay, so the zipper is on.
What a thrill.
Alright, well, I got a green screen. So this is the full Eva Cosplay reveal. All the accessories and the jumpsuit I made. I know this wig is a little long. Her hair actually goes up to here. But I tried to save money where I could with this cosplay since I spent more than I wanted to on the holster and props alone. But I kind of prefer a longer wig to a shorter wig. Also, I don't like how much being a blonde complements my skin. I'm a natural dirty blonde, but growing up hearing all the blonde jokes in the 90s, it kind of bothers me how good this wig looks on me. So yeah, the only thing is that kind of bugs me a little bit is how these goggles hang, but you know, it's just part of the cosplay. Oh, and this is also just my smartwatch. And you can't see my feet, but I'm actually barefoot on cold tile floor right now. I don't have my Doc Martens on, but I hope you enjoyed watching this video. I know it was a little long, but that's because I wanted to show like how much goes into making a cosplay. If you want to start making your own cosplays, how much it goes into getting the material, getting the props. sewing together the cosplay, budgeting. I wanted to show every aspect of what goes into just making a singular cosplay, even one as simple as Eva's that is just a jumpsuit with accessories. So I hope you enjoyed my video, and I will catch you next time.